Hey guys, welcome to Mitch's Music. Today we are going to talk about making chords. Like, what is a major chord? What is a minor chord? We're going to talk a little bit about what makes up those notes and why you would like to learn something like this. Um, and so let's get started with the why. The first reason why is instead of learning all of the chords, you can start to figure out how to make your own chords from chords that you already know by just changing a few of the notes that are involved in the chord. And you'll learn a little bit more about this later as we learn what a major chord is, what a minor chord is, what a diminished chord is, and what an augmented chord is. And that's really the four types of chords. You have major, you have minor, you have diminished, and you have augmented. And we'll talk about what those are and how to make those chords. So let's start out with a major chord and basically the format of all of these chords and kind of how they work together. The chords are divided into thirds, and so you will have three notes in most of the chords, or pretty much all of the chords we're going to talk about today. If you add more notes than that, then it's going to be an extended chord, like a seventh chord or a ninth or an 11th or something like that. So most chords that have a major or minor tonality are going to have three notes in it. The chords where you're playing like two strings at a time, like this, those don't really give you enough of an idea of the tonality of the chord. Most of the time, it's implied based on the melody or whatever that the vocalist is singing. They're going to add that third note. But in general, we're talking about a chord as being three notes, and they're going to be a third apart. So, what is a third? Well, the simplest explanation is this. If you're starting on the note C, count C as your one. So, one is C, two is D, three is E. So, a C chord is going to have a C, an E, and then we're going to count three again up to G. E, F, G. So it's going to have C, E, and G in it. Now, how do you know which ones are sharp, which ones are flat? That is fairly easy to just memorize. So there are only three chords that have no sharps or flats in them, and that is the C chord, which is C, E, and G. That's the F chord, which is F, A, and C. And that is the G chord, which is G, B, and D. So there's only three that have no sharps or flats: C, F, and G. Then you've got one that has two sharps, and that is the B chord. The B chord is a B, a D sharp, and an F sharp. And then the other chords, the A, the D, and the E, are going to have a sharp in the middle. So A, for instance, would be A, C sharp, E. D would be D, F sharp, A. And then E would be E, G sharp, B. Now, there's a lot of explanation that can go along with this, and you can look at a piano or a guitar and figure it out that way. But the easiest way to start out is just know there are three chords that don't have any sharps or flats: C, F, and G. There are three chords that have a sharp or a sharp in the middle, that is A, D, and E. And there's one chord that has two sharps, that is B, and that's a D sharp and an F sharp. And after that, let's just talk about how to change the chords. And I didn't want to get too far into exactly the notes in the chords that you play because there's a lot of doubled chords. But I did want to show you how to change from a chord that you know and figure out how to change it to a minor chord or a diminished chord or an augmented chord, and how to take a chord that you already know and do that. So let's start with an easy one. So C. So that is a C major chord. And for this chord, I'm going to show you which notes I'm playing. So this A string is a C. So I'm playing a C right here. I've got E right here. I've got G right here. I've got C right here. C, E, G, C. And then you normally play the high E as well. But with some of the changes we're about to make, we're probably going to want to skip that string. So C, E, G, C. That is a major chord. Now, to change it to a minor chord, we're going to need to make one change in one note, and that's the middle note. So I told you earlier that a C chord is C, E, and G. So we need to move the E to an E flat. So here's my E. This is what I told you here. So if I did not know how to play a C minor chord, a very simple way that I could do it is I could just change this E and move it a half step down, which would be 1 fret down. And now I'm playing an E flat. So now I have a C, an E flat, and a G. And so you could just play those top 3 strings, and now you have a C minor chord. Major on the 2nd fret, minor on the 1st fret. And you can do that with any of the other chords. So a G. So you got G right here. You got G, B, D, G, D, G. And so here's my B. So what I would want to do to make this a minor chord is move it a half step down. So now I have G, B flat, D. Now, would you want to play these chords like this? Maybe, maybe not. But it's just knowledge. If you were in a bind and you knew some of the notes of the chords that you were playing, I've done this before when I was learning guitar. This is another way that I kind of got to know the fretboard a little bit better, is instead of looking up a chord every time, I would try to figure it out for myself. And so a lot of time I would be looking at a chart early on, and it would be a chord that I didn't know, didn't have any reference point to like figure out how to play it, but I knew a C major chord or whatever, and say it was a C minor chord, and I didn't know how to play that yet, or a C diminished chord. I could figure it out based on the fact that I knew what notes I was playing in that C major chord. All right, so that's major chords. You got major chords, you got minor chords. All right, so a diminished chord is going to be taking a minor chord and also flatting that 5th note. So you're going to do a, a regular first note. So you've just got a C. Now we have the E flat in the 3rd, which is a flatted 3rd. And now we want to flat this G right here. Now, from where I am on the guitar, I really can't do that. But what it would end up sounding, because I'm about to run out of strings, so the easiest place to play a G flat is right there. And so I'm going to have to change the way I'm playing this chord. And a lot of times when I'm doing diminished chords, if you ever come across a diminished chord and you want to learn how to play it, I play diminished 7th chords. And so I'll show you how to do that. So if I was going to this C right here, I have my first finger on the A string, just like for that C. I'm going to have my second finger on the D string on the 3rd fret. Uh, no, the G string on the 3rd fret. I'm going to have my 4th finger or 3rd finger on the D string on the 4th fret, and then my pinky on the B string, and that the diminished chord sounds like this. Now I am adding a 7th in this one, so I've got a C here. I've got that G flat right here. I've got the 7th here. That's a B flat. And then I've got the E flat here. So if I was just playing the regular chord without the 7th, it would sound like this. So to get a diminished chord, you are flatting not only the 3rd, but the the fifth as well. All right, so that's a diminished chord. You're not going to run into those very often unless you're playing jazz, or sometimes in country music, they'll use it as sort of like a transition chord or something like that to get to somewhere else. Augmented chords. So augmented chords is going to take a major chord. So I'm back to my C major, and it's going to make the fifth note, that G, higher. So a lot of times, all I'm going to do to play an augmented chord is I'm going to take this finger and bar it. So here's a regular C, here's an augmented C. All right. So that is a basic introduction to major, minor, diminished, augmented chords, how to get started with them. Remember, you want to start with knowing the original notes and how to change them. We're going to do a video a little bit later about what notes you're actually playing in the chords, kind of like I did just a few minutes ago with G and C, and talk through how to work on just learning the fretboard a little bit better in that way. If you have any questions based on this video, like I said, this is a very brief introduction to this. I wanted to give you some facts that you could take away from this, learn something new, but not dump too much stuff on you. So hopefully I haven't done that, but hopefully I've left you with some questions. And if you have any questions, leave those in the comments below and I'll come back to them in a future video. Have a great day, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow in the next video.